Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point podcast. This is... I don't know which episode we're up to. I'm gonna be honest with you, Lewin. It's been a while.
28.
28? Okay,
I've
written...
probably wrong, but...
I've written 26 here, but, you know, I could be wrong as well. Let's check it. Episode 27, so it's up to episode 28. You are right.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, the last episode we had our new thumbnail design that I made with like the little compartments. It looks quite nice.
I like that.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of it as well. But my name is Lara, and you've already heard him. He's here. It's Lewin. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm just gonna be quiet for the rest of the podcast now. I talked before the introduction for once. I'm done.
Yeah, this is just my show now.
Good job. Have a good time.
I will, and you'll just sit here and listen to it.
Exactly.
But yes, this is episode 28, and it's been a hot minute since we last did an episode. In fact, the episode released on, I'm looking at it now, on the 29th of May, so it's been a couple of months since then. So how you doing? How's life, basically?
Life just keeps running at me. I've moved house, found out that I thought my concert that I'm going to at the end of the year was in November. I'm evidently wrong. It's actually this month, so I had to spend $320 this morning getting accommodation and travel ready.
Yikes! What
Yep.
are you seeing? What are you going to see?
I'm going
Where
to see.
is it?
It's in Sydney, and I'm going to see Kiss.
Oh, okay. I saw there's another band. Kiss. I mean, that's a good choice. I don't really listen to them or not, but they're a good choice. Yeah, my favorite
Guns N'
band.
Roses playing later.
Yeah, there's also the Killers.
Oh.
I saw an ad for the Killers. They're coming up, and I was like, I know the name The Killers, but I don't know what songs they played. And then as soon as I heard the songs on the ads, I was like, yeah, okay, I know what songs they do. So I was like, oh, that's nice. That'll be a banger time. I have nothing I'm gonna go see concerts because none of the bands that I have interest in seeing tour in Australia. But do you know what I did do recently? I did buy, because my new favorite genre of music is kawaii metal. May have made it clear in the past.
Yep.
And there's a band called Passcode, which is kind of like a mix of I say band, like, I mean, I guess with kawaii metal there'd be more groups, because there's like a band, but then there's the singers and dancers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be more of like a group than a band, but whatever. And anyway, so like Passcode, they're kind of like a mix of metal, obviously. They're like that metal, J-pop, K-pop. I mean, I know if I said like J-pop and K-pop are the same thing, there'd probably be like purists out there who'd be like, now wait, hang on a minute. But like to me, they sound exactly the same. I know it's different languages, but it's the same thing essentially. But it's essentially that with metal, and then like what kawaii metal is. But these guys mix in EDM as well. So it is like a fucking just crazy mix of sounds. And they're also known for using autotune. Not like using autotune, it's like using autotune as a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
So like they're basically just like futuristic kawaii metal, if you want to think of it like that way. But they're not that big compared to like say baby metal, right? Like they're not that big. But they recently did a show this year in February at the Budokan Stadium show thing. It's a big deal. I mean, Baby Metal have performed there like 3 times, I think. But anyway, they performed there for the very first time. And as a special thing, they released their big, special Blu-ray whatever. And the only place I could buy it from was from Japan. So I had to spend a few $100s to buy, and of course, being the idiot that I am, I bought the like fucking deluxe edition Blu-ray thing. So it came in like a big, like this box, and you open it up, and there's like a big art, like photo book and things in there. Great photo book. Open it up, really good stuff. I can't read a word of it because it's all in Japanese. And then there's like these little figures. So they have like little figures of the four girls, and then underneath is like the Blu-ray, and you open that up and you get like the discs and the Blu-ray and all that. But like it's a big deluxe edition. Like I could have just bought the standard Blu-ray, but no, I went all in on this one. And anyway, I had to get that shipped from Japan, and then I paid for it, and then got it sent here. So it ended up costing me like $200-300 to get it sent here to Australia. Was it worth $300? Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a good concert. Good concert. We went for like 2 hours. 2 hours. But yeah, Obi Wan Kenobi came out.
Yeah.
It released end of May probably. 6 episodes. I'm gonna very heavily argue that it was way too many episodes for the story they were telling. But before I get into how much I hate this show, what did you think of it? I like how that's how I start my thoughts on Obi Wan Kenobi. Cool. Fucking hate it.
Coming out of the gate strong. There is.
Here's the thing. It's the type of hate where I just don't give a shit about it anymore. Like I was mad at the time, but now I'm just like, whatever. I don't care. Like it's just a shit show, and I don't care. But go ahead.
There's a lot of good things in a lot of nothing.
That's exactly my thoughts if I was to talk about my thoughts properly. There's a lot of good stuff in the show. There's also a lot of shit stuff as well.
I don't think there's anything that's really actually bad. There's just stuff that isn't
It's not the worst thing, but it's also a show that, in my view, doesn't justify its existence at all, and also doesn't justify all the changes to canon at all. And the reason why I say that is because they justify it by doing little lines of dialogue that just are kind of thrown in there because I guess they wanted to tell a story, but then they were like, oh fuck, what about this thing in Star Wars canon? And they're like, oh, we'll just throw a line in there. Case in point, Princess Leia.
Yes.
Now, look, we could go talk about all day about Star Wars canon. But honestly, it doesn't fucking matter. Princess Leia, there is... Well, first thing, let's mention the fact that she's a tech genius in this for some reason, but then in Empire Strikes Back, she can't figure out how to fix the Falcon. So there's that. That's nitpicky, though. That's not anything major. What the major thing is when you listen to that message in A New Hope that she leaves for Obi-Wan, does that sound like a message that comes from someone who knows who they're talking to?
Yes and no. She's a political diplomat. She can't just go, hey Ben, because there's a chance that message would get intercepted. Case in point, it pretty much did.
Yeah, but it's the way she words things. She talks about it as in, like, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. And, like, it's just the way she talks. And also, she doesn't react to his death in the slightest. And also, if she did know Obi-Wan prior to Episode 4, why wouldn't she have told Luke about it at any point? And the line they use to justify this whole thing is Obi-Wan kneels down and says, "Don't tell anyone. We know each other. We need to keep it a secret." So now my question is, it's fair to say Obi-Wan Kenobi was, I mean, not like a super important figure to Luke's life, but was like important, you know, at the time, right?
Yes.
And Leia is obviously Luke's friend. Like, Leia was aware of this. Why didn't she tell him at any point that they actually knew each other? Now, look, I would have been fine with a mind wipe or some shit like that. Like, it's convenient, but, you know, like, at least it deals with that problem. But, like, it's pretty safe to say that she doesn't know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is in the original trilogy, but we're just supposed to believe that she does because she was a kid and she's just keeping it a secret, but didn't bother telling anyone at any point after the events when Obi-Wan is dead. So it doesn't matter anymore. You don't need to keep that a secret. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. It's not a big problem in the grand scheme of things, but it's just such a shit justification when you could have put a bit more effort into it. That's what I'm saying. Okay?
That is the synopsis of this whole show. You could have put a bit more effort into it. But even I will agree on that. We both know, we are 28 episodes into this podcast, we both know I have a much lower threshold of, like, oh yeah, I can like this.
I can like things too.
Yeah, but it's known that my threshold is so much lower.
But like, why does Leia have to be in this show? What story purpose does she serve?
I actually think Leia in the show is like the best part.
Yeah, but what narrative purpose does she serve other than being the inciting incident? Because other than that, there's literally zero reason for her to be in this show.
No one in the show
she contributes
has a reason for doing anything.
Exactly, but, you know, we can talk about that if you want. But the point I'm making is, I think the idea on paper that the only thing that gets Obi-Wan away from Luke is his sister. I think there's something, you know, poetic about that. So I was willing to go along with it. I was like, you know what, that's a nice idea. Like, I would imagine, like, Obi-Wan's not going to just leave Luke and leave Tatooine for any old reason. Like, it'd have to be something super important. So I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like a great idea. Now, I would have preferred it if we didn't actually meet Leia at any point until Obi-Wan actually saves her. I think that would have been a way better use of her character instead of having random shitty scenes in the first episode that just don't relate to anything. And then you have that chase sequence. Love the chase sequence. Yep. Both chase sequences.
That will come to a point I have later, but...
But like I feel like that's fine. But after that, Leia serves no purpose to the story. She's just there. And it really bothers me that is the case. Because I think he should have just taken Leia back, and then the story should have focused solely on Obi Wan Kenobi, and he takes Leia back, drops her off, and then he realizes he's now in the sights of the Inquisitors and he can't go back to Tatooine. So now he's on the run. Like, I think this would have been a much better story of just Obi-Wan being on the run, even if it's temporarily, something like that. But instead, half the show is focused on Leia, the other half of the show is focused on Reva, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of has a character arc, but not really. Like, he starts the show in one way and ends the show in the other way. But there's no arc to get him from point A to point B. He just does things, and things happen to him rather than actual beats of a story arc play out. There's one beat in the entire show.
I think there was a few beats, but it's not consistent enough to make it good.
The main beat is when he loses to Vader at the end of episode 3. That's like a proper beat of a character arc. Problem is, the following episode just ignores that completely after the first, 2 minutes. He pops in a Bacta tank and he's just fine. Which is fine, Bacta tank, whatever. But, so many narrative possibilities for really good character writing and good storytelling, and you just throw him in a Bacta tank and call it a day. And then he's just Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's literally in a Bacta tank, and then 5 minutes later, he's at the fortress, and he's just doing Obi-Wan Kenobi things. Where's the arc? Why don't I have an arc? All I want, Lewin, is an arc, And I just didn't get it. And I was really upset by that.
I think that was I don't know how to... Episode 1, we have... Okay, so...
Episode 1, you have a setup.
Yeah,
a great setup.
Yeah, okay, so...
And then episode 6, you have what feels like a natural conclusion well, a natural like continuation of that setup, and then you have a bunch of episodes in the middle that just kind of do things, and you're just like, what?
Which brings me back to my point of there's 3 beats: start, middle, end. Didn't say that there was any more than that.
Yeah, so I'm right then. Basically, that's what you're saying.
You're correct. Yeah.
Yes, good. I'm glad I have that validation now, and I'm feeling very good about myself. No, like, overall, like, I don't want to get too in deep on the show, because basically all this show is a bunch of shit happens for 5 episodes, and then Obi-Wan and Vader fight at the end, and it's all, like, fucking... he says, hello there, and we're meant to believe he's gone on a character arc. I do want to talk about the Vader Kenobi stuff specifically, and just specifically that.
Yeah.
Because I do think outside of one moment, 2 moments actually, because there's a moment in episode 4 which is very weird. Outside of that, I think all that stuff is really good.
Yeah,
I
agree.
think if the show was just that, and it was like a Disney Plus movie, or, you know, a 2-3 episode miniseries, whatever, or like a 2-part special event, something like that, the show would have been better, way better than what it was, because then it would have had a focus, right? And this brings me to the Patterson cut, which I don't know if you watched that, but
I watched it this morning.
it's really good.
It is good, yes. But
it's obviously a fan edit. You can obviously tell, like, he's had to make some compromises in some parts where you're like, oh, okay, yeah. But I think just as a whole, that cut of the show works a lot better. It doesn't fix the problems I have with the show, but it does just make the show a bit more snappier, a bit more focused on what it needs to be focused on, and less bullshit. I mean, literally the first 2 episodes are done within the first, 40 minutes of that cut. And I'm like, that just shows how much shit was just in those episodes that just needed to go. And that's the thing of the theme of the show, if you will, is there's so much just filler in this show. There's so much, it's very clearly a show about Obi-Wan and Vader, but
they can't. They don't
just
have enough.
Spread that out so periodically. And look, listen, I'm a defender of the fight in episode 3. I know a lot of people hate it, and I know why they do. It's really terribly shot. It looks awful, just like the entire show, to be completely honest with you.
That was the point I was going to bring up earlier.
We can come back to that.
Yeah.
But it looks terrible. It's shot terrible. The lightsabers in this show are terrible, and I want to get into that because this is the first time I've looked at lightsabers in a Star Wars thing, and I've thought they look like shit. But I like the fight itself. I like the idea that, Vader's there for a fucking fight, right? And so he's, ready for it. And then Obi-Wan's just pathetic and can't fight him, and it's not what he wants, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. And that's why I'm a defender of that fight, because I like the thematic ideas behind it. And to me, that justifies why he lets him go. Because when you watch that scene, there is absolutely no reason why Vader should have let him.
Yeah, no.
There's none. Especially when you literally solve the problem of the fire 5 seconds before. And also, by the way, Vader's suit is designed to be fine in fire. He can literally just walk through the fire and it wouldn't affect him in any way. So, and that's what the Patterson cut did. I mean, I know this is what I'm talking about. You can tell it's kind of a fan edit, because the Patterson cut, he did add an extra little shot into that scene in Blender with the Stormtrooper, and then he's added a bit of extra dialogue where the Stormtrooper's like, oh, should we go after them? And Vader's like, not just yet, or whatever he says. And yeah, obviously that's a bit thrown in there, but that conveys what I think they were trying to convey with that scene, but they just didn't bother putting it in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could fully expect the script was written and it says Vader, Vader lets Kenobi go in the hope of being able to fight him when he's stronger or whatever. I don't know. Script writing. But I definitely 100% think that was the intention. And it also comes back in the final episode when they are fighting in the final episode, and Vader kind of stops the boulder and like stops, and when he says your power has returned or whatever it is he says, like his tone of voice is very much like he's like, wow, your power has your power's back, your this is it, you know, like he's very pleased with the idea that Obi-Wan's power is back. Like you can hear it in the way James Earl Jones delivers that line of dialogue. You can hear like, you know, he's starting to psych himself up for a good fight. Which makes no sense why he then just starts throwing rocks at him and buries him and then just walks away. Like, surely you'd want to actually defeat him and make sure he's dead. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. But, like, that ties back in. The problem is episode 4 alludes... There's a scene with Darth Vader at the start of episode 4. Like, the scene where I think she's talking to Reva or whatever. And he basically says Obi-Wan got away. Like... just basically says that. And I'm just sitting there like, so he did get away, you didn't let him go. And I think that's the biggest issue with this show. Just if you're gonna lay it all out on the table, is there wasn't really any communication between writers. And I think writers were really just left to their own devices. And then there was like a showrunner who kind of then just went in and tweaked each script to kind of loosely connect to each other. That's how I feel this show was written. Because this show was also written based off an original movie script.
Yes.
That was then extended out to 6 episodes, but was also rewritten the fuck out of as well, and then added other episodes. And that's why I think episode 1, 2, and 6 work, and then everything in the middle is just so random. But then you come to the last episode and you've got that fight. And that fight is a great fight in isolation on its own. But I just feel like the show's writing doesn't back it up enough. I think if there was some decent character writing to lead into that, I think it would have been more epic. And also, what would have made it more epic is if I could actually see what the fuck was going on half the time.
Yeah, the planet was way too dark.
I don't know. And I think this show was definitely made on a budget.
Yeah.
Like,
and then
it's so cheap.
I'll return to that later, unless we're starting the cheap talk now.
Oh, the only other thing I want to mention is Reva.
Reva is actually a decent character. I'm gonna say it.
And I think narratively, if we're going to talk specifically about her arc, I actually like the idea of her story a lot, actually. I think it's really cool. Having like a kind of young child. I think it's a bit of a stretch that she survived getting stabbed with a lightsaber as a child.
Yep.
But, you know, I'm willing to look past it.
Anakin fucked up. It's
also, why didn't the clone troopers like check to see if she was dead? Like they would literally like Order 66 has been described in like novels and things where like the clone troopers would just keep shooting dead Jedi bodies.
Yeah.
Like they would just keep going. Like they wouldn't stop. Why wouldn't they make sure she was dead? I think and also, how did she hide herself among the bodies? Like she was the first one stabbed. Like she was the first one.
Anakin,
I don't know.
Anakin was
it's a
just
bit dumb.
really quick the other two.
Anyway, none of that matters, but I love the idea of it. I think it's a really great idea. I love the idea that she kind of spends 10 years kind of, you know, well, not the full 10 years, but like she spends a prolonged period of time becoming an Inquisitor and, you know, doing all the horrible things she does as an Inquisitor, which we don't really get to see. But doing all the stuff that you would assume an Inquisitor does. And then then it turns out that she's actually doing it to get closer to Vader so she can kill Vader. That's a great story.
Yes.
Great story. Wow. Why don't you just make a show about that? Why does it have to be shoehorned into an Obi-Wan? Like, it literally is like a story for a different show. It just feels like it's a different show that's just been shoehorned into Obi-Wan. And as a result, this show just has no focus.
I will agree with that.
Nothing at all. Like, there's just no focus. What is great about this show is Darth Vader, in my opinion.
He is literally...
He's great.
The GOAT.
I love the scene where he storms into that office and bloody chokes Reva and is just like, you know, like, you were warned. I was like, oh, this is great. This is like good stuff. I also love how all the other Inquisitors are like, oh, okay, well, we'll just stand over here. We're not gonna get involved in this one. We'll just sit this one out. I hated all the Inquisitor drama. I thought it was so shit.
My issue with the Inquisitor drama is it did go literally nowhere.
It did. Literally, after episode 3, the Inquisitors were just non-existent.
Like,
and even in episode 3, they weren't existent. And, look, I think, I don't know. I did like the fight with Reva and Vader. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I like how Vader doesn't even ignite his lightsaber.
It was
and I thought
very
that was
squish.
Cool. Nice. Good stuff.
It's a Skywalker thing.
And I also really loved... and my biggest problem with Obi-Wan as a show is that it's the classic Disney MCU thing of no substance, and it's more about just having things you recognize on screen and characters you recognize on screen doing things rather than anything with any depth to it. And I will make one exception to that, and that is Qui-Gon Jinn in the last episode. I know we're jumping around a bit here, but honestly, it's not worth talking about. I will make an exception for that, because I think in a show that had a more competent character writing, I think that moment would be so much more earned. But I do like it as kind of like an ending to Obi-Wan's sort of character arc. I like it. It's a nice scene.
Yeah.
I like the scene. I do not like him going to Luke and saying the phrase, "Hello there." I hate that so much. When he said it, I was just like, all I pictured in my mind was the Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
So, my issue with that scene is, like, yeah, it's shoehorned in, but it's not even shoehorned in well, because literally he goes, "Hello there," and then it cuts immediately after he said it. That was the centerpiece of that scene. If he'd said hello there and then actually had a conversation with Luke, you could have been like, oh, yeah, okay.
I can forgive the obvious reference.
Exactly.
And that's all this show was. It was just fucking references, left, right, and bloody center. And I'm like, where's the actual substance to the story you're telling? And look, I'm just going to say it. It's a bit of a meme, but genuinely, Obi Wan Kenobi has killed Star Wars for me. I know it's a meme to say something like that, but like genuinely, like I literally finished Obi Wan Kenobi and I was just like, I have no interest in watching anything Star Wars ever again.
I very much do.
That has obviously changed, but what I will elaborate on.
What?
No.
This is
what
a roller coaster.
Hold on. I need to elaborate. So, at the time, I was like, I genuinely do not want to watch another Star Wars thing. And then the following night, I watched Clone Wars. Loved it. Had a good time. So, that then made me go, oh, well, you know what? If it's Dave Filoni, and by extension of Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, although Jon Favreau did do Book of Boba Fett, so, you know, he's on thin ice. If it's not those two, I do not give a shit. Like, there is nothing you could make that, if it isn't involving those two, I'm not interested in watching it. I couldn't care less about Endor. I'm not going to watch that shit. If it's good, great. I'm happy for all the people that get to watch it and enjoy it. I'm not going to watch it because I don't care. I'm excited for Ahsoka. Why? Because, I mean, I'm an Ahsoka simp and Ahsoka's my favorite character. But also, it's Dave Filoni. And it's Dave Filoni's third proper show. And I'm excited for that. What else is coming out? Tales of the Jedi. Dave Filoni. Excited for that. And then, of course, Mando. Another Dave Filoni / Jon Favreau show. I'm excited for that. What's that show that they announced? The other one? They announced another show.
The Acolyte?
I mean, yeah, I don't, they didn't even talk about that at all, did they?
I really
at the
hope.
Star Wars
I really
Celebration.
want them to because I'm keen.
Yeah, look, I don't care. Don't care.
I
unless
love the
unless
High
I see
Republic era so far.
unless I see the words Dave Filoni associated with the show, I don't care. And then there's the other show, the one with Jude Law. What was that one?
Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever.
Did you
Doesn't
ask
matter.
that question just so you could say you didn't care?
Yeah, because I forgot the name of what it was called. I was like, which one is it? I don't know. But I'm interested in Ahsoka and Tales of the Jedi, and of course Mandalorian Season 3. I'm interested in that as well. So,
It's
like,
Mando season 3, yeah.
Star Wars isn't dead to me, but what Obi Wan Kenobi has proven, to me at least, is that Disney isn't capable of making good Star Wars, and the only person that's capable of making good Star Wars is my boy.
But Disney made
that's-
Mando.
Oh no, yeah, but Dave Filoni was involved. That's what I'm talking. That's the point I'm making.
Involved. It was mostly Jon Favreau.
It was Jon Favreau, and because Dave Filoni was producing the series and he was writing for it, like, he was involved in a lot of it. That's why I'm saying, like, Dave Filoni and, by extension, Jon Favreau. That's what I mean. Like, if it's those two, I'm all for it. If it's not those two, like Obi Wan Kenobi and
I am
like Andor
triggered
was.
by anyone who goes, "Oh, Disney never did anything right." I'm like, Disney still made these things. You can't just cut.
Oh no, no. What I'm talking. Yeah, okay. I'll rephrase what I said. What I mean is, without those two, I feel like they can't make anything good. Without those two, do you know? Like I feel like Dave Filoni gets Star Wars so much.
He was literally George's protege. So.
Yeah, without him, I just don't think Disney, like, the people that, like, I don't think they get it.
I don't
You know what?
think-
That's what I'm trying to say. I just don't think they quite get it.
I don't think that Disney's TV crew gets it.
They need someone to steer the ship. That's all I'm saying.
Because there's a lot of competent people who work under the Star Wars banner, but seemingly none of them work in the film TV section. The comic books are fantastic.
Oh, I'm specifically
books are
talking about film and TV. I'm specifically talking about
I am
that.
semi-aiding your point in the fact that they are not getting anybody.
I know what you're doing, but I feel like you're arguing with me, and I'm getting worked up, alright? Okay, you know what? None of it matters. All I'm saying is
Everyone
that
looks cheap. There we go.
if it's not a Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau show, I don't care. Not interested. Doesn't matter what it is. I couldn't care less. I'm not remotely interested in an Obi Wan Kenobi season 2.
No, it should not
because,
exist. Please,
as far as I'm
no.
concerned, season 1 didn't justify its existence enough to make me interested. Also, if you're talking right now, I can't hear you because I just unplugged my headset.
Oh, well, that's...
So let me just plug
handy.
that back in. There we go. Now I can hear you.
Hello.
Sorry if you said anything then. I really apologize. I didn't hear you.
I agreed with you on season 2. I said
Yeah.
that...
No interest. Don't care.
Yeah.
But just in general, like, I think I'm just going to treat Star Wars the same way I treat the MCU now. Like,
There's so much media that makes sense.
considering that's how Disney treats it, I might as well treat it the same way. I'm only going to watch what purely interests me, and right now, no other creatives have proven that their Star Wars is actually worth watching. So,
Look, I also have the issue that most people have with Star Wars of there is too much stuff in too little time frame. We have beaten the Skywalker saga to death with a stick. It is why I love the High Republic era so far, because I'm getting a breath of fresh air, and I hope that they can go past... Anything past Rise of Skywalker is ripe for the taking. Set it 500 years in the future, start with a blank slate, go for it. Just stop using anything remotely close to Luke or Anakin.
what I want to see, okay, I don't want to... Even though I have no interest in Obi-Wan, I have no interest in any of that. I do love Ewan McGregor, and I do love Hayden Christensen, and I loved seeing them. It was great to have them back, okay? I want more of them, but I don't want more of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would be perfectly happy if they did like a live action Clone Wars miniseries. There was maybe like a few episodes and it was like just a little story set during the Clone Wars and you have them two play those roles. You could set it kind of after Ahsoka leaves, but before season 7. So then that way you wouldn't have to recast Ahsoka to be a younger Ahsoka. Like you could just set it during that period of time. I think that'd be great.
So
I'd watch that.
Honestly,
just do that.
Ahsoka wasn't tied to the hip with Anakin. You can set it earlier and just have a little...
Yeah, you could do it before Ahsoka arrives. You could do it literally during the events of the Clone Wars and Ahsoka's off on another mission. Because she very often went off and did her own thing as well. Like, there's so many interesting... Like, if you got Hayden Christensen back, fucking use him. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, but he's in the suit the whole time. He's not, though. Look at the credits and you'll see he's not in the suit most of the time. He's in the suit some of the time. Actually, that's something I forgot to talk about. I want to talk about... We've ended up talking about this show for a long time. I want to talk about the one moment in the show that I absolutely love, even though I don't think it's as good as the Rebels version of it, but still... I like it a lot, and that is the bit where Obi-Wan cuts off like half of Vader's helmet, and then you have like that exchange. There's one part of that I don't like, and that's that he calls Vader Darth at the end. I didn't really think we needed an origin of that, but okay, there we go.
I don't know. I like that.
It's a good scene. I think it's probably the best acting in the entire show, start to finish, I think is that scene. And it's just a really nice, well-written scene.
I think the acting...
See, it's not as fun talking about positive things, isn't it? It's always more fun to talk about why we hate something. When we like something, it's like, yeah, it was pretty good.
I was actually just about to say something nice as well, because you mentioned the best acting. I think the acting in the show was actually all around very good.
I'm going to disagree on that, but I'm not getting into it.
Who do you think?
Okay, so
Leia's actress was great.
I mean, she was fine, sure.
For a child actress, she was fucking great.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing.
Evidently,
she's fine. Look, I don't feel that strongly about Leia, alright? Like, I don't even think she should be in the show in the first place, but I think she was fine. I think she did her job, she did a good job, and that's the end of it. She's still a child actress, though. And that's what really bothers me about her. But it's not their fault. They're kids, right?
It's not their fault they were born.
Exactly. It's not their fault they were born. You just move past it. It's fine. I'm more than happy to just move past child actors. But I don't like the Inquisitors. I don't like any of them. They're all bad. Every single one of them.
I disagree.
Really?
Yes.
You really looked at the Inquisitor's performance. You looked at the guy from Fast and Furious and was like, yeah, that's good.
Which one was the guy from Fast and Furious?
It's the brother.
Oh, he was in there for 2 scenes.
Yeah. And it was a terrible performance.
I don't think it was terrible. I think it was...
It was pretty bad.
I don't know. I think it was just
the Grand Inquisitor's not very good either.
I disagree.
Nah, he's I think, yeah, whatever. Who's the other one?
I don't remember her.
I can't really talk about her performance because she doesn't do anything. She just stands there. So I think actually she's the best one. She's the best Inquisitor because she just stands there and she does a good job at standing there. So good for her.
I'm giving the Grand Inquisitor...
That's a very backhanded compliment. I'm sorry. I'm very aggressive about this.
I'm giving the Grand Inquisitor actor props because he adapted a fucking cartoon character pretty well. He got the mannerisms and things down.
Yeah. I guess.
When I look at it as him being the character from Rebels, that's why I think he's a good actor for it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I mean, I personally don't particularly... Oh, God, I'm going to sound racist saying this, am I? I don't particularly like Moses Ingram in this. I think she's good in episode 5, and then outside of that, I think she's pretty bad for the most part. But I also don't know if that was intentional or not, so, you know, I'm kind of 50-50 on her. Because I think she gives a really great performance in episode 5.
I agree.
Yeah, that's the only time I thought she gave a good performance. Oh, actually, no, that in episode 6, the, like, end scene with her. It would have been nice if I could see what the actual characters in that scene, because it was so dark, I just can't see anything. But, I mean, I'm sure she gave a good performance. I think she's fine. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think she's fine, but I don't think she's that good. And just a lot of the side characters are kind of just not that great. Like, I feel like... I don't think it's necessarily an acting thing. I think it's more of a direction thing. I feel like a lot of them just didn't have a lot of direction in how to play the characters. So they just kind of did it, and then that was the end of it.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on the acting of this show. And that actually also extends to Ewan McGregor as well, by the way. Like, I don't think he's bad in the show or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think there are moments throughout the show that I do think it's really just Ewan McGregor making choices as an actor rather than the direction. And it's a really weird thing to say because I actually think Deborah Chow was decent director in The Mandalorian. So I don't really know what happened here. Maybe it's just she could only do so much with the writing.
I don't think anyone got paid what they wanted to get paid, and that resulted in things.
That bothers me a lot, because this is Obi Wan Kenobi. You've got Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen coming back. Like, this is an Andor, right?
Which, if you look at the trailer for Andor, the cinematography is...
It looks like a bit of money's been put in that show.
Exactly.
Also, that show, the director of that show did say that they don't use stagecraft in that. They actually, everything's shot on location or on sets.
As much as I'm impressed by stagecraft, they need to not rely on it as much as they have, because it makes the shows look fucking cheap.
Well, it makes Obi-Wan look cheap.
Look, I think that Mando looks cheap in quite a lot of places.
I mean, look, it's been a while since I've watched it, so I'm not really gonna go into that. But they did use physical sets for Mando too.
Yeah,
but,
that's probably when I think it looks good.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think stagecraft looks great. I think in this show the biggest problem is just like when they do shoot on location, they just pick really shit locations.
Yeah.
And then they don't light them properly. That's what I want to talk about. Lightsaber. What do you think of the lightsabers? Because this is in Obi-Wan Kenobi. They used new lightsabers, new production lightsabers. What did you think of that?
I thought they were a bit too solid. If that makes sense.
They seem a little too realistic, don't they?
I think that's my problem with this whole episode.
That's my problem with it. Like, I get why they're doing it. But I think just the glow from it, and you can even see the actual light stick when they move the lightsaber around. Like, there's been times where they just didn't bother rotoscoping in the lightsaber on top of it. But I think the glow is the biggest problem I have with this. Because they've been using, like, glowing lightsabers since Force Awakens. But, like, this was a new one. This was, like, a new lightsaber thing they were trying out. They were using for the first time. Actually, they might have done it with Ahsoka as well in Mandalorian. I'm not really sure. But I think Ahsoka had the advantage of being well lit for most of it. And also they were white lightsabers. So it just looked like a more natural light source.
Yeah.
Where in this one, it's too bright. It also contributes to the cheapness looking of the show. Because the glow just takes up half the screen.
I don't mind the way that the way the light comes off of, not comes off, the end point of the light, when you see it cast against things. I like the way it does that, but when you look at the lightsaber itself, you can see it as the light source, which I know that sounds that doesn't make sense.
No, I know what you mean. Like, I think it's just, it looks too realistic.
Yeah. Because if you look at the prequel ones, it's a faint, like, aura around the blade.
Yeah, where this, yeah. I don't know how I feel. I just don't think they look very good at all.
I think that was the problem with the whole show.
Yeah. I think maybe they might look better in a show that's lit better. Like, I just think this show just isn't lit very well. And I think a lot of that is to hide the cheapness. Like, the fact that the show is set mostly in the dark. The lightsaber fights are mostly in the dark, and they're on rocky planets. Like, it seems to me, even for using stagecraft, because stagecraft does look fantastic, by the way. Like, I don't agree with what you said about stagecraft looking cheap.
I don't mean all the time. I think
I know.
there is an overabundant use in it where it makes it very obvious that they are not putting the effort in.
But I think it just depends on the assets you use as well.
Yeah,
because
yeah, I'll
need
agree
to.
there.
I think the way it came down to it, I think this is what's happened. I think you look at Mandalorian and you look at John Favreau's all about it. I mean, Mandalorian essentially pioneered this. Like, I know there was been versions of it before, but Mandalorian pioneered it in its current form. And, you know, that was a show that obviously took a lot of trial and error, but that show does look great. Like, you go back and watch Mandalorian Season 1, there's so many great shots in that show of Mando walking around, and, like, you just see the environment around him, you see the reflections. It looks great, right? But I think stagecraft at the end of the day is a tool, just like camera, just like a light.
You can use it all wrong.
It's how you use it. And I just think Mandalorian, like, they use it in one way, and then in this show I don't think they knew how to use it properly. And to me, maybe they also didn't spend a lot of money on the actual effects side of stagecraft to use really good assets. So they just kind of set the show at night to kind of hide that. Also, by the way, I've been watching a bit of behind the scenes of this, like little clips and stuff. I don't know if there's an actual behind the scenes thing like there have been for the other shows yet.
It took them a while to release one for I think it was Mando season, or Book of Boba Fett took a while to release.
Yeah, that came out more recently, didn't it? But I'm watching a lot of it. A lot of it was shot on green screen as well, so it's not like it's entirely stagecraft. Like, a lot of it is just green screen with, like, minor sets as well.
I don't want to. They just didn't put the effort in.
There wasn't the effort, and it just looks shit.
Someone got told that. So Disney comes along, Solo bombs. Because even though it was a decent film,
I like Solo.
Yeah, I like Solo too. It's actually a very.
We talked about it on a podcast episode. You can go back and find it.
Solo bombs. Disney pulls a knee-jerk reaction, cancels future plans. Fans don't like that, so instead of just letting sleeping dogs lie, fan build-up happens to the point where Disney is like, oh yeah, we can probably still make money off of this. We should probably do it.
Also, bear in mind that there were 6 scripts written for this show that were also scrapped in 2020.
Really? That's a lot of scripts.
Yeah, well, it was the whole series. They had a writer come in, write the entire series, based off the same script that this version of the show is based off, right? The same ideas, right? From that original film script. But yeah, they wrote a script, and Kathleen Kennedy didn't like it, so scrapped them all, and then got new writers to come in and write the current version of the show we have. And ironically, the reason she gave at the time was that she felt it was too similar to The Mandalorian. I think this show is very similar to The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it very much is. It follows the...
So I don't know why they bothered. That's Obi Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
What have you been up to lately? What have you been doing? Have you been playing anything? I did see you were playing at one point when I turned the PlayStation on and I got my little feed. I did see you were playing some Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I was playing the co-op.
What was that about?
I was playing the co-op mode. Cameron, you might know Cameron. I think you might have gamed with him at one point. He likes to randomly just say, hey, install this game and we'll play it together. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. We both know I have a rocky history of the 3 modern Tomb Raider games, but Einstein.
I don't. Do you? I don't know. I don't remember really ever talking about
I
it.
just don't.
Maybe
they don't-
I was so traumatized by what you said that I just blocked it out of my memory.
It's nothing. They're just one of those things where no matter how much I try to like them, I never do.
Fucking banger games. To be fair, I actually haven't played Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Outside of doing virtual photography, I have not played Rise of the Tomb Raider since 2016.
It's like
I played Shadow of the Tomb Raider like 4 times. Once for a video. And I've played Tomb Raider 2013 so many times because I think that's a banger of a game. But
I want to like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I seemingly just can't.
My favorite bit is when Lara goes on a murderous rampage, and it's pretty funny. I like it.
Like I've got
Not something you would normally hear, but like I mean, Lara's always going on murderous rampages, so like I mean, it's pretty par for the course for Tomb Raider.
But no, I was playing Shadow of Tomb Raider because I want to
Doing
do
the
co-op
co-op
mode.
tombs.
Yeah.
Co-op tombs, I'm going to be real. Look, so the co-op tombs are all the DLC tombs that are in the little... Oh, actually, well, they're also all the main tombs in the game as well. But they're like the DLC tombs.
Yeah.
And I think the DLC tombs are the best tombs in the game. Like, once they started releasing those, like, DLCs with those little stories and then little tombs, I would play through the tombs and I'm like, fuck, these are so good. Why aren't these, like, why aren't the tombs in the main game like these ones? These are so good. They're so good.
I enjoyed what I played.
Yeah. Well, you played the co-op, so you would have just gone to the menu and then just selected the tomb and bada bing, bada boom.
Yep.
You do it.
Bingo, that was it.
Yeah, so in the DLC, they actually give you a story reason
I
for why you're
figured
doing
that
what you're
would
doing.
be the case because some of the trophies were like, yeah, this, and this. I'm like, that makes zero sense for a co-op mode.
The DLC story side of things is very hit and miss. I mean, 2013 is a banger of a game. We should at least play that one.
I don't know what it is. I got to the part where the supernatural stuff...
That's also the gayest one as well.
I got to the part with when the supernatural stuff starts happening, and for whatever reason, my brain just went, "This is stupid," and I have not touched the game.
Is that the... Oh, when does the supernatural stuff start
Something
happening?
about samurai or something.
It's...
Not samurai. I don't know. Something's happening. Statues?
There's like there's a scene where she goes into a tomb and there's like different statues of like the different kind of like queens, like all the kind of royalty, whatever, and one of them is Queen Himiko, but Lara deduces that all of them are actually Queen Himiko, and Queen Himiko has been kind of like taking over other bodies. That's the plot of the whole game, basically, is Queen Himiko, because what happens at the end of the game is Sam is actually a descendant of Himiko.
Yeah.
And so Sam gets captured by the cult that's on the island, and then at the end she's in this ritual where Himiko takes over Sam, and then your job is to save Sam, and so you save Sam. Basically, that's how the game ends. You're never gonna play it, so it doesn't matter. So you kill Matthias, you save Sam from Queen Himiko, and all is well until you read the comic books, and then it kind of all turns to shit because it actually turns out Himiko succeeded, and so Sam goes on a fucking rampage, and not a rampage, but like a violent, like, gets into a brawl in a bar and like fucking really seriously injures people, and then it's revealed that Himiko actually is still inside her, and there's a whole comic book storyline where Himiko takes over Sam's body and she ends up in an asylum that breaks out of the asylum, and it's a whole thing in the comic books. But in the game itself, you save Sam from Himiko, and then all is well. I love me a bit of Tomb Raider. Oh my god. I haven't added to my Tomb Raider collection in a while, but I probably should have. Do you know what broke my heart?
What? Did they discontinue
the Tomb Raider sequel was cancelled, and it made me sad.
Oh, right.
With Alicia Vikander. And there's actually a similar situation to Warner Brothers. Basically, it was like company mergers and things like that. And essentially, MGM lost the rights to the film franchise, which reverted back to Crystal Dynamics. So now Crystal Dynamics owns the film franchise rights for Tomb Raider currently. And Tomb Raider 2 is not happening. It's done. It's finished. It's kaput.
I'm sorry for your loss.
And Embracer Group, who now own the rights to Tomb Raider and also own Crystal Dynamics, have actually said are very keen on the future of Tomb Raider, because they've been looking at what Crystal Dynamics are planning and what they're doing, and they're very keen.
It's video game royalty.
Yeah.
You don't want to Konami it and fuck it up the way they did Metal Gear Solid.
I still can't believe Square Enix just sold all their Western IP like that.
I know.
It's weird. And also, before they sold it so they could focus on NFT things, and now they're coming out and saying that the reason why they sold all their Western properties and studios was because they were worried that they were overshadowing their Japanese output. And I'm like, you've got fucking Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy.
Two of the largest franchises in the world.
I'm pretty sure Tomb Raider and Deus Ex aren't overshadowing those games. I'm pretty sure you're fine, but it seemed like bullshit to me. Anyway, that's enough about all of that. But yeah, you were playing that. So what else have you been up to lately? Actually, before you go ahead, hold on. I really need to pee. Oh. Do you mind if I just run quickly to do that?
Okay, go ahead.
Just keep recording. It's alright, I'll cut it out.
So Domino's upped its prices. That's pretty neat because of lettuce shortages in Australia because of floods. If anybody cares about that, you'll never hear this, but lettuce is a rarity in these parts. Every fast food chain is unable to get it in, besides McDonald's. McDonald's grows their own apparently, so they're fine. Don't know why other places don't grow their own. Surely Subway's rich enough now. So yeah, that's not good if you like pizza. You now have to pay double the price for a beef and onion. A beef and onion. And it's called a double beef and onion now to make up for it. Craziness.
Oh, the other thing I was going to add to that, by the way. That I forgot to mention, was that Netflix doing the Tomb Raider anime series.
Yes.
So I think it would be reasonably easy for them to renegotiate to get the rights to do a film as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I did a little bit of investigating.
Some investigating, yeah.
I went back into my trophy lists to see if the trophies for Tomb Raider would give me any hint. The answer is no, not really. But if it gives you any idea on my feelings, it is the 10th game from the bottom of my trophy list.
Nice.
But I got 20%, 25% of the files unlocked, and I completed a whole skill tree.
So what's your favourite Tomb Raider game, then?
I don't have one, honestly.
Oh, but what's the one you've played that you like?
Tomb Raider 1, like DRG.
That's a good game.
It is, I'll agree with that.
It's a solid game. I love that game. My favourite is actually the objectively worst one.
Angels of Darkness.
Yes! I love that game so much.
It says a lot of how much I've actually spoken to you over the years that I can pinpoint that.
I love that game so much. Emo Lara is my favourite thing, and I love like how sassy she is, and just like how it's so good. It's like a completely different characterization to the original PS1 games as well. Like it like takes that, but then just like goes in a different direction. And that's because like that game as a whole was very much more focused on story, and all the stuff in that game was really good. Like most Tomb Raider fans agree that that's a really good story. A lot of good stuff in it. It's just the game's fucking broken. But yeah, I love that game a lot. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, the two I've played the most of are the PS1 one.
Yeah,
and
Tomb Raider 1.
Just straight up Tomb Raider 1 and Tomb Raider Anniversary.
So Tomb Raider 1 again.
Yeah.
Well, there was the really good one to play actually is Tomb Raider Legend, because Tomb Raider Legend is like 5 hours long, 6 hours long. Like, it's really short. You can finish it really quickly. But it's actually a banger of a game.
I'm not going to discount the chance I'll ever like Tomb Raider 2013, because, fun fact, I despised Mass Effect 2 for a very long time.
And that's like the good one.
I love Mass Effect 2 now.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna replay the Mass Effect game soon. I recently what was I saying? Oh yeah, I got the Mass Effect Legendary Edition on Amazon Prime for Prime Day.
Nice.
Was giving it away for free, and I was like, fuck yeah. So I created an Amazon Prime account, 30-day free trial, added Mass Effect Legendary Edition to my Origin library, and then cancelled the trial.
Fuck yeah.
It's a good day. So now I've got those to play, so I'm going to play those at some
I'm
point.
halfway through the first game in that pack. Enjoying it immensely.
Yeah. And the first game I've never played,
Really?
too. I've never played the first game. I've only ever played 2 and 3. I do own it, actually. I actually have Mass Effect on PlayStation 3. Just never played it. But I think I'm not going to bother now. I think I'll just play it in the Legendary Edition.
It's easier that way.
But I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably not going to play it till after I've finished Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah.
Like the trilogy. I'll probably play it then. But yeah, I'm looking forward to replaying them. But that brings me to Final Fantasy 13, Lewin.
Good game. I enjoy it.
Oh my god. I'm playing through... You know, remember when I played Final Fantasy 7 and then I wouldn't shut up about it for like a year?
Yes.
And I guess what? Do you want to know what I'm replaying on and off at the moment? Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Yeah. Final Fantasy 13 looks great because it is fairly linear, and so it just looks fantastic. Yeah, it looks fantastic, and it looks even better at the moment with me playing it because I've modded the shit out of those textures. It looks great. I am literally playing Final Fantasy 13 remastered. It's just a pity there's no actual remaster that exists. But essentially what I'm playing is a remastered version of that game. I've got all the 4K quality upscales of all the character models. So I'm basically using the character models I'm using are the character models they use for the cutscenes. Because there was actually a game model, a cutscene model, and then they also had the CG model.
Yeah.
Oh, they all look so good. So good. And then all the textures are 4K upscaled.
Hey.
Textures. The whole game looks fantastic. But yeah, originally I was just going to play Lightning Returns.
The final game in the series.
Yeah, well, the reason why I was going to start with that one is because mainly, this is going to sound so dumb, but I really loved the trailer. I loved how the trailer, like I watched the trailer and I was like, fuck, this game looks awesome. But I loved that you could wear different outfits, so that's why I was going to play it. I was going to play it because I knew 2 things about the game. You could wear different outfits, and Lightning was the only playable character, and at the time, she was the only character I cared about playing. So I was like, I'll just play that one. And then I read online on some forums that people were like, oh yeah, you don't really need to play the first 2. Like, the game does a decent enough job at catching you up on the story when you need to know information. I was like, sweet, I can just not play them and just start playing this. But then some people were like, oh no, you should really play all 3. And I was like, oh, fuck,
You get to
whatever.
learn how much the little bitch Snow is.
Anyway, all 3 games were on sale on Steam, so I bought all 3 of them.
Wait, Final Fantasy 14's on Steam?
Yeah, it's on
It
Steam.
was a PS3 exclusive. What the fuck?
Nah, it's
Oh,
on
no,
Steam.
I
Got it right
I
here.
believe you.
Final Fantasy 13 on Steam, and then I've got 13.2, and then Lightning
I
Returns.
know Lightning Returns was on Xbox, but I could have sworn the first one was PS3 exclusive. Oh well, that's cool.
And I also have custom Steam covers and the big art that you can get, because you can get custom stuff. So I've got custom. So it's funny, you look at my Final Fantasy 13.2 in my Steam library, and Lightning is on the cover, right? Like, she's front and center. And then, like, you actually, like, Final Fantasy 13.2 is the one I'm least looking forward to play, because I know Lightning's barely in it. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to play that. But luckily, I like the characters enough that I'm going to play it still. I'm looking forward to actually playing it, because I do like all of these characters, I'm going to be honest. I'm really enjoying this game a lot. And not as much as 7, not as much as
That is
them.
most people's opinion.
But I do like them. And Lightning is just literally Cloud. Like, they are the same character. Like, I think Lightning is a little more sympathetic to people. But if you were to describe to me the character traits of both Lightning and Cloud,
Mysterious past.
I would literally just be like, it could be either of those two characters because they're essentially the same character. But I'm really enjoying the game. I've played about 13 hours of it so far. I'm up to chapter 7, I think. I'm up to chapter 7. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And this is also my first kind of exposure to more traditional Final Fantasy gameplay. Like the turn-based thing,
which is
like because obviously I only know Final Fantasy VII, so.
I like how you say that, but Final Fantasy VII is arguably more traditional than. Because I know that Remake isn't like full-on turn-based, but it still has the ATB system.
Correct, and I think you can play it in the traditional style, except the only thing is you don't it's still basically the same visually, but you just don't control the characters, you just make the choices. So this is my first exposure to that, and I do know this game has the paradigm system, which wasn't in the other games. It's like a new system for this game. And once you realize how to work the paradigm system properly,
combos,
you literally are never in any danger. You're never gonna run out of your ATV. You can just change paradigm to another one. You can make like 4 paradigms that are exactly the same, and you can just keep switching between them. It doesn't matter.
I've learned that maybe it's just that I like power leveling. Final Fantasy seems to always have a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, nothing's a threat to me anymore.
So where are you up to in your Final Fantasy playthrough? Because I know you said you started 7 Remake and then you're like, oh, I'm going to play all of them.
Yeah, so that's still happening. It's actually in my list from before we started. Final Fantasy 1. I'm still playing Final Fantasy 1. It is a longish game. Like, I have ventured the lands. I have collected the key items. I've played for about 30, 40 hours, and I'm still only halfway through. But I'm at the stage where my monk and my warrior class, because there are no main characters,
Yeah. I've seen, there's a streamer, that's, YouTuber that, uploads, like, edited versions of the streams, and they're playing through all the Final Fantasy games, and they've just finished the original 7. So I'll probably just watch his playthrough of it, so that way I can at least be caught up, so I can get even more excited. Because the thing about the Rebirth trailer is it means nothing to me. Like, it looks cool, and judging by reactions from other people, it seems like it's very different to what they were expecting, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah,
like, I'm watching it and I'm like, I haven't played the original, so I don't know what this means.
Yeah, I think the remake trilogy is gonna whiplash into proper remake in the 3rd part.
Yeah, well, the first one, people have said that the first one is very faithful to the original game up until the last
the end
couple
game.
of chapters.
And then it goes off.
Then it goes batshit, and I fucking love all of that. It's so great. I love it all, but it is apparently very different.
Yes.
To what happened before.
I do know what happens, and I agree.
Yeah, but like they say, it's very faithful up until that point, and it's just like you take the original game but just expand it a bit and do a bit more world building and things, and I appreciate that. But yeah, apparently Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is gonna be. I was about to call it Final Fantasy VII 2 for a second there, but Rebirth is apparently gonna be kind of pushing, because it's already in the trailer, it's already like very different from so this is all secondhand information, because I haven't obviously played the game, but like the game does heavily allude, the trailer does heavily allude, it brings up the phrase like what is real and what is fiction. It brings up, like, what is Sephiroth's endgame, whatever like that. If there's a shot of this, everyone was like, what the fuck is going on, when there's a shot of Cloud. I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but...
No, I haven't seen the trailer yet.
There's a shot of Cloud walking, and... Yeah, okay, so there's a shot of Cloud walking, and then Sephiroth walks up next to him, and they're both, like, walking towards an objective. So everyone was like, wait, like, so I'm assuming that obviously doesn't happen because everyone was like, wait, what the fuck is going on when they saw that? Literally every reaction from people who have actually played Final Fantasy VII I saw, I was like, they all had the same reaction. They were just like, oh my god, what is going on? But the trailer also very heavily implies, and they better not fucking do it, but the trailer very heavily implies that Tifa dies.
A soul for a soul.
In some capacity. Yeah, well, in some capacity, because basically the dialogue is Tifa is saying to Cloud, I'm assuming, she's saying, what are you saying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter? That's the line of dialogue from Tifa in the trailer. And not only that, but the guy from
Crisis Core?
Crisis Core is alive, which you find out at the end of intermission, by the way. You find out he's alive, because I'm pretty sure he dies.
I think, yeah.
I don't know in the original game, I think in Crisis Core.
Which they are also remaking. Yeah, I'm fairly...
Remastering,
yeah.
Remastering, yeah. They have confirmed Crisis Core will be just the original game. It's not going to take place in this new Final Fantasy VII remake timeline.
Probably means that it never had that much consequence to begin with.
Yeah, definitely, like, just based on everything everyone knows and all my secondhand information, it does seem like that this is going to be very different. And a lot of people have speculated too since the first game that Aerith won't die in this, and that someone else might die instead.
As far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, I think Aerith already survived her death flag. Because I think...
Well, I don't know anything about the game. I just know the scene.
Yeah, we all...
like, I've seen that scene. So, I'm hoping they don't kill her. I'm hoping, like, a lot of people are speculating that it might be, like, this kind of, like, alternate timeline thing, and that, like, the goal of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy is kind of going to be to reset the timeline or do something along those lines to take it back to what it was, if that makes sense.
Which is what I think it is, personally.
Yeah, I think there's some time shenanigans going on. There's some bits and bobs. And I reckon what's going to happen is it's going to end with Aerith dying, but it's going to be like the original version of those events rather than like remake. I also think the line with Tifa is just a fake out line. I don't think they're actually going to kill Tifa. I think if they're going to kill anyone, it's probably going to be Barrett. They've already done that, by the way, in the games. They did a fake out Barrett death. Spoilers.
Barrett.
He dies. He dies, but then it turns out he didn't actually die. The little fucking Sephiroth stabs him with his big ass sword and fucking kills him, and then the little ghost thingies like kind of hover over his body for a bit, and then randomly he just like the ghost pops out of his body and he just wakes up and he's fine. So it's like they did this whole big fake out death thing, and then they're just like, nah, he's fine. That's right. You can't kill Barrett because he's got to get back to Marlene.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm interested. I'm going to watch his playthrough of that. But yeah, so you're playing through 1, so you've got a lot more Final Fantasy games to go.
Yes, I do.
I'm assuming you're not going to play 14 and you're you're going to skip that one.
I'm going to play 14, but I'm not going to do it as like...
That's a commitment though. Like that's not just I'm going to play that game. That's a commitment.
I'm already playing 14. I'm level 20.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're already kind of in it then. See, I'm not getting into it because I'm playing SWTOR. I don't need another MMO in my life.
You know, I'm playing 14 in my off time. It's not like a devoted must play, but I'm enjoying Final Fantasy 1. It is very... So recently they released Strangers Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
That's the Souls-like
That's the
one,
Souls-like remake, retelling of 1. And everyone's like...
Yeah, not gonna play it.
Everyone's like, look, the lore is deep. And then I'm playing 1, I'm like, this is your quintessential NES game where you're told to go save a princess, and that's all you're told. I was not given my manual, which...
You didn't get your lore book.
I didn't get my little lore book.
Your lore book comes from Final Fantasy Wiki.
Pretty much. Because people are like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is Garland, this is this, this is this. I'm like, this means nothing to me. So, outside of a gameplay perspective, I'm very divorced from Final Fantasy 1. I think it's a fantastic game. I just get no satisfaction from what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reaching Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6, I think it is, because apparently that's when Final Fantasy really starts knitting into Final Fantasy.
And to be honest, I have no fucking clue what's going on in Final Fantasy 13, by the way.
Crystals.
I have no idea. Like, there's like Lassie. I know what a Lassie is, but then there's like Pulse Falsey, and then you've got all of that going on, and then you've got like the fucking military core, whatever they're called, that would, like, where lightning comes from. But then there's another one of them, and they like have their own little objectives, and there's this like flashback scene to the fireworks, and they keep like flashing back to that, where like, you know, you get to see like the backstory of each character and their motivations, but you find out there's like they're both operating there, and it's like there's two military organizations. There's Pulse, but then there's the other place, and the other place doesn't like Pulse for some reason. And my takeaway from it, my understanding of it as it is right now, is Pulse people are poor and the other place is rich, and that's basically the difference.
That's fair.
That's my understanding of it, and they don't like them because they're poor, and they don't like them because they're rich. Capitalism. I don't think the game's about capitalism. I'm just saying that's usually associated
the game
with
is
how
about
people get
fulfilling
rich.
your goals and becoming Crystal.
Yeah, and also, like, if the Lassie get chosen to do a specific task, right? That you know, they get chosen by the Fal'Cie to do this task. Why do the Fal'Cie choose them to do what tasks they choose them to do? What do the Fal'Cie get out of that? I have no idea. I don't get it. I don't get any of it, but I'm still enjoying myself. I'm really enjoying myself a lot. So I have read that Final Fantasy 13 is kind of like a game that takes quite a while to just explain the lore and what the fuck is going on.
13 was the first game in the Fabula Nova Crystal universe of Final Fantasy, which was meant to be like a massive thing, and then they kind of just sidelined it.
So I don't know. I didn't really know entirely what's going on. Like I kind of knew what was going on in Final Fantasy VII a lot sooner, but I don't know. I'm still enjoying myself, you know. Like, and I'm liking all the little character interactions. Like there's this character. What's her name? I keep forgetting her name all the time. Hold on, let me look her up. She's the redhead character. The one that's overly positive. I'm pretty sure she's like a kid or some shit.
Seraph?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's her name. Right?
Lightning Sister?
No, not
okay,
Lightning
not
Sister.
Seraph.
The other one, the redhead, not the pink head. We got characters. We got characters.
It's Vanille.
Yeah, Vanille. Hang on, is it Vanille?
If I'm remembering the overly plucky, happy one correct,
The positive one?
think
Yeah,
it's
that's
Vanille.
her. Yeah. So like, she's just so positive and happy all the time, and like, it's in any other game, it would be cringe, but in this game, it's great. Every time she interacts with Zaz or whatever his name is.
Zaz.
But yeah, I'm really excited to play more of 13, whatever game it is I'm playing. That one. It's good. It's a good game. 10 out of 10. I don't know why people hate it so much.
That was my feeling.
Everyone hates this game. And I'm like, why? Why do you hate this game so much? Like, it's fucking banger.
I think it was like maybe the expectation built up around it.
Yeah, so just list off some, I don't know, things you've been doing, because we've mostly just talked about things that I've been doing. So like, what have you been doing
Nothing.
recently? Anything you've done worth talking about? Anything of note?
Not really. I've been working, which is always my answer when I'm asked these questions. I'm playing Elden Ring, still a fantastic game. Having a lot of fun with that. I can see why it is definitely probably going to win Game of the Year this year. I'm replaying Ocarina of Time in my Zelda playthroughs. I'm
You play through so much shit at once. I can't do that.
I can't
It's too many things at once.
I can't settle on one thing. When it comes to media,
Yeah.
I'm ADHD as fuck. Yeah, I've been playing Zelda because I decided I'm gonna go through the games in chronological order based on the timeline. And
How many Zelda games are there?
let me count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
That's too many games.
18. I'm currently up to the 5th game in the series in chronological order, which is
Yikes.
Ocarina of Time.
You got a long way to go.
I do, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Pretty much most of these games have been good so far. Of the 5 I've played, Ocarina of Time is still standing to be. It feels like an N64 game. I should state I'm playing the 3D remake version of it, the 3DS one. It still feels like a N64 game, but it is very much. You can see the building blocks of a lot of modern, like, video games. How Mario 64 is like the godfather of platformers.
Yeah.
It's amazing how well.
Even I've played Mario 64.
Yeah, it's a
I don't even
classic.
like Mario or Nintendo in general.
Yeah, it's a classic. You throw penguins down slides and off cliffs, but
That was a cat I just heard in the background.
yeah, she wants food.
Fair enough.
Certain pocket. But it's just I don't know what to say. It stands the test of time extremely well. It's intuitive. You start the game, you know pretty much exactly how to play from the get-go. It's great. I'm loving it. It's a 10 out of 10 game. The first one on the list so far. Yeah.
The first 10 out of 10 game in general, or just
On
Zelda?
Zelda. I've got
Okay.
several 10 out of 10 games.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna lie, like, playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I haven't talked about it that much just purely for time reasons, but, I mean, it has the potential to be in the top 10, my top 10 game list. It has the potential, let me just say that. I'm really enjoying it.
Aye.
Although, that game is buggy as fuck. Holy shit. The amount of bugs I have... I don't know if it's just the PC port, or if it's, like, just was like this, but I'm like... This game's buggy, man, like... Granted, not as buggy as Cyberpunk or anything like that, but like literally game-breaking bugs where like you can't progress. And like there was the mission. It's early on in chapter 2 where like you do the hunting tutorial with is that Hosea? You got to go hunt the bear. I think is it him?
That's with Hosea, I think.
Yeah. So that mission for me, I literally could not progress that mission. What would happen is I would go to that campfire, the first campfire you go to where you catch the rabbit, and then you do the whole, like, cooking menu tutorial and things. Cooking menu would never come up.
That's not fun. I didn't have too
Could
many
never
bugs.
progress that entire mission. I couldn't progress it. So what I ended up, it doesn't matter if I reloaded the game, if I reloaded a save, if I did anything. So I actually just had to go online, find a save file that had all the tutorial missions of chapter 2 completed, and just play from there. And then all I did was went back and replayed the missions that I hadn't played yet at that point. Because I just couldn't progress. There was no way for me to progress that mission.
Yeah, it's unsettling. I didn't experience anything like that in my playthrough.
Yeah, and then on top of that, doing a mission today, actually. It's the mission, I think it's probably the last one in Chapter 2, or towards the end. It's where you go, you do the sheep herding, and then with John, and then you go to the saloon afterwards, and then the guy you've been robbing from his trains for the whole chapter turns up, and there's like a big shootout in Valentine. So the end of that mission is... They all leave, and you're left in Valentine. There's still more guys for you to kill. And the objective is just escape Valentine. So, I shot a few of the guys, I got on my horse, and I rode off. I rode all the way to camp, and the objective didn't disappear. I was literally at the camp, and guess what? The camp was being packed up. So, like, the story was progressing as far as the game was concerned, but I could not exit the mission. It didn't matter what I did. So I thought, oh, well, there's a few guys I didn't kill. So I rode back to Valentine, killed those guys. Objective didn't go away. I was still stuck with Escape Valentine. I rode so far away from... I went beyond the camp. Because I thought, now that I've killed the guys, if I leave, surely it would do it. Didn't do it.
Damn.
I rode beyond the camp, still said Escape Valentine. So, in the end, what I had to do... So, I had to reload from a checkpoint, which then loaded me into the moment where everyone leaves and you're stuck there with the guys right there and you do the shootout. I went to shoot all of the guys, went to shoot them, and they all just disappeared, and I got a notification saying mission passed. That's reloading a checkpoint. And I just sat there and went, what the fuck just happened? And then I rode all the way back to camp, and it was doing the thing, because I do believe Red Dead does this, where, like, mission markers won't spawn. And you have to, like, reload a save, or, again, I don't know if it's the PC port, or if it's
I think it might be a
as a
bit,
whole.
because I didn't have these problems.
It's weird. It's buggy as fuck, and I don't know, it might just be a PC port thing, I don't know. But it's still a great game. I'm still enjoying it, but it's just like these little bugs that are just really annoying. The only other thing I wanted to ask you about, actually, is, did you play Stray?
Not too much. I need to play more.
Okay, we're in the same boat then. I've only played about an hour of it.
I've not even played that.
Let me just say, I really vibe with the soundtrack. That's all I have to say
like
about
the soundtrack, and I like the meow button. It's cute.
Yeah, the meow button is game of the year. Like, instant game of the year.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Elden what? Elden Ring. Are you kidding me? Stray, you have a dedicated meow button. I'm sorry.
It's so cute.
Like, look, I don't make the rules. These are objective facts. Okay? Like, this is just how it is. You just got to deal with it, you know? Next up, I don't know when we'll get the chance to do another episode again. But if it's not before the centenary, then the next episode we'll probably just talk about the centenary, I'm sure.
Yeah, most likely.
But if it's not, we'll talk about something else. And maybe we'll talk about Resident Evil if you watch it.
I will.
Who knows?
Probably just end up watching it by myself.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. It's fine. And probably by then, even if it's before the centenary, we'll probably have centenary trailers and shit to talk about.
Maybe.
So
Who knows?
I can hear your cat in the background,
She's very
so
hungry.
we mustn't keep her waiting any longer. So that brings us to the end of the episode. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, and subscribe if that's the kind of thing. Or if you're on the podcast platforms, go and check us out over there. The links will be in the description.
Indubitably.
That helps us out a lot if you go check us out on the podcast platforms.
We will catch you all next time. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes, and by the time this episode comes out, it probably will be Christmas, so, you know, Merry Christmas.